The storm had passed. The billionaire knelt in that humble hut, tears streaming down his face as he touched his grandchild for the first time. Pride had crumbled. Walls had fallen. And in that moment, forgiveness was born. But what happened next? Before we go any further, can I ask you for one small favor? This story took me days to write, record, and edit. Every frame, every emotion, every sound. It costs you nothing to support me, but it truly means everything. Please, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and comment your location below. I want to know where my amazing viewers are watching from. I read every single comment, and I'll be giving shout-outs in my next video. Today's shout-out goes to Cynthia from South Carolina, Jennifer from New York, David from England, and Amina from Cape Town, South Africa. Now, let's get back to the story. Because what happens when the billionaire brings them home isn't what anyone expected. Dawn broke over the city as 3 black cars rolled through the quiet streets. In the lead vehicle sat the billionaire, his face worn but determined. Behind him, in the second car, Adissa held Amira close, their baby sleeping peacefully between them. The mansion gates groaned open, the same gates that had slammed shut months ago, casting Amira into darkness. Now they welcomed her back. Servants lined the driveway, their faces a mixture of shock and uncertainty. Some had mocked her. Others had pitied her. Now they watched as the billionaire himself opened the car door, extending his hand to help her out. "This is Amira," he announced, his voice carrying across the courtyard. "She is family now. Anyone who disrespects her disrespects me." The servants bowed quickly, murmuring their greetings. But their eyes told different stories. Some were genuine. Others masked resentment. Inside the mansion, everything gleamed as it always had. Marble floors, golden chandeliers, paintings worth fortunes. But something felt different. The air was heavier. Madame Selina stood at the top of the grand staircase, her silk gown flowing like water. Her face was composed, unreadable. She descended slowly, each step measured. When she reached the bottom, she stopped before Amira. The 2 women locked eyes. The mansion held its breath. Then Selina reached out, placing a sapphire necklace around Amira's neck. "Welcome home," she said. Her voice was steady, but something flickered in her eyes. Something unfinished. The billionaire beamed. Adissa exhaled with relief. But as they moved toward the east wing, toward the rooms prepared for them, Amira glanced back. Selina stood alone in the foyer, watching them go. And on her face, beneath the smile, was a shadow of something else. Something that whispered, "This is not over." The room they gave Amira was more beautiful than any place she had ever seen. A canopy bed draped in silk. Windows overlooking rose gardens. A nursery attached, painted soft blue, filled with toys carved from ivory and wood. Adissa held her from behind as they stood in the doorway. "This is ours," he whispered. "All of it. No one can take it away again." Amira wanted to believe him. She wanted to feel the joy that should come with such beauty. But as she watched servants prepare the baby's crib, she saw how their movements were stiff, their smiles forced. That evening, dinner was served in the grand dining hall. The table stretched endlessly, covered in delicacies. But the conversation was stilted, awkward. The billionaire tried to fill the silence with plans. Adissa will resume his training. In 6 months, he'll take his place at the company. Amira, you'll have tutors. Languages, etiquette, business. You'll learn everything. Amira nodded, grateful but uneasy. She caught Selina watching her over the rim of a wine glass, those sharp eyes measuring, calculating. Later that night, as she walked through the corridors to fetch water, she heard whispers from the servants' quarters. "Did you see that necklace? As if jewelry makes her one of us. The master may have forgiven, but blood doesn't lie. She's still the girl who scrubbed these floors. Give it time. She'll slip. They always do." Amira's hands trembled as she gripped the silver pitcher. She wanted to burst in, to defend herself. But what would she say? That she belonged? Even she wasn't sure anymore. She returned to her room to find Adissa playing with their son, making him giggle with silly faces. The sound was pure, untainted by the whispers and stares. "I heard them," she admitted quietly, sitting on the edge of the bed. "The servants. They don't accept me." Adissa's expression darkened. He set the baby down gently and took her hands. "They will. Give them time. My father's acceptance matters most." "Does it?" Amira asked, her voice small. "Or does it matter that I'm still the same girl inside? Still the maid who doesn't know which fork to use?" Before Adissa could answer, a soft knock came at the door. A servant entered, bowing low. "Pardon, young master. A letter arrived for Miss Amira." She took the envelope, her name written in elegant script. When she opened it, her face went pale. The note was brief, written in sharp black ink. "You don't belong here. Leave now, before the world discovers what the billionaire hides. You've been warned." The paper slipped from her fingers. Adissa snatched it up, his jaw clenching. "Who delivered this?" The servant's eyes widened. "I don't know, sir. It was left at the gate." After the servant fled, Adissa paced like a caged lion. "Someone is trying to scare you. They want you to run." Amira clutched the baby closer. "What if they're right? What if I'm putting all of you in danger?" "No." Adissa knelt before her, his voice fierce. "You are my wife in everything but ceremony. You are my son's mother, and I will find out who sent this." But as night deepened and the mansion settled into silence, Amira lay awake, the words echoing in her mind. What secret was the billionaire hiding? And why did it feel like the walls themselves were closing in? Morning brought new chaos. The billionaire's study buzzed with tension. Lawyers in sharp suits shuffled papers. Advisers spoke in urgent whispers. And at the center of it all sat the billionaire himself, his face carved with worry. "The scandal has leaked again," one adviser said grimly. "Tabloids are calling it the maid and the heir. Stock prices are dropping. Investors are nervous." The billionaire slammed his fist on the desk. "Then we fight back. Adissa is my rightful heir. Anyone who questions it questions me." But the damage was spreading. By afternoon, news vans lined the gates. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Headlines screamed across the city. Billionaire's son shames family for maid. Empire in crisis. Heir unfit to lead. From riches to scandal. A family torn apart. Inside, Adissa paced his father's study, fury radiating from him. They're twisting everything, making Amira look like a manipulator. The billionaire's expression was grim. "This is business, son. Rivals smell blood. They'll use anything to weaken us." Another letter arrived that afternoon. This time it was slipped under the door of Amira's room. She opened it with shaking hands. "Ask him about the offshore accounts. Ask him about the deals that built his empire. If you stay, the truth will destroy you all." This time, there was something else enclosed. A faded photograph. It showed the billionaire decades younger, shaking hands with a man whose face was shadowed. Behind them, stacks of currency and what looked like documents marked with official seals. Amira stared at it, her heart racing. What was this? That evening, she showed it to Odessa. His face went white. Where did you get this? Another letter. Odessa, what is this? What is your father hiding? Before he could answer, a crash echoed from downstairs. They rushed down to find the billionaire collapsed at his desk, clutching his chest, papers scattered around him. "Father!" Odessa shouted, dropping to his knees. Servants swarmed. Someone called for doctors. Selina appeared, her face frozen in shock, and as they lifted the billionaire onto a stretcher, his eyes found Amira's. In them, she saw something she'd never seen before. Fear. The hospital room was sterile and cold, a stark contrast to the mansion's warmth. Machines beeped steadily as the billionaire lay propped against pillows, his face grey, aged beyond his years. Doctors diagnosed heart strain, stress-induced, dangerous. He needs rest, they warned. No excitement, no stress. But stress followed them like a shadow. That night, as the family kept vigil, the billionaire asked everyone to leave except Odessa and Amira. His voice was weak, but urgent. "There are things you need to know," he began, each word an effort. "Things I've hidden for too long." Odessa leaned forward. "Father, rest. We can talk later." "No." The billionaire's grip tightened on his son's hand. "If something happens to me, you need to understand. The empire I built, it wasn't built on honor alone." He confessed then, his words slow but steady. Years ago, when he was young and desperate, he'd made deals with powerful men. Some legal, others walking dangerous lines. Offshore accounts to avoid taxes. Partnerships with officials who looked the other way. Nothing violent, nothing evil, but enough to destroy reputations if exposed. "I was trying to survive," he said, his voice cracking, "to build something for my family. But those deals, those choices, they haunt me. And now someone is using them against us." Amira's mind raced back to the photograph, the threatening letters. Who would do this? The billionaire closed his eyes. "I have many enemies. Men I've defeated in business. Rivals I've crushed. It could be anyone." A knock interrupted them. The butler entered, his face grave. "Sir, forgive me, but I must confess something." The old man's voice trembled as he admitted that weeks ago, a stranger had approached him, offering money for information about the family. The butler had refused at first, but the sum was enormous, enough to secure his grandchildren's futures. "I told him about the scandal," the butler whispered, tears streaming down his weathered face. "About the young master and the maid. I leaked it to the tabloids. I am the reason this has exploded." Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. Odysseus' fists clenched. "You betrayed us." "I know," the butler said, falling to his knees. "And I will leave immediately. But I had to tell you. The man who paid me, he mentioned something else. He said this was only the beginning, that someone close to you is helping him." The billionaire's eyes flew open. "Who?" He wouldn't say. Only that they wanted to see the empire fall, and they'd use the woman to do it. His eyes shifted to Amira. Before anyone could respond, the door burst open. Selina stood there, her face streaked with tears, her composure shattered. "It was me," she sobbed. "I spoke to my cousin. I told him everything. I was angry, bitter. I never meant for it to go this far. The revelation hit like a thunderclap. Odysseus stared at his mother in disbelief. "You!" Selina collapsed into a chair, her body shaking. "I was afraid. Afraid of losing everything we'd built. Afraid that she gestured to Amira, would bring us all down. My cousin, he promised he'd just scare her away. I didn't know he'd weaponize it." The billionaire's heart monitor beeped faster. Nurses rushed in, alarmed. "Everyone out. Now!" As they were ushered into the hallway, the family stood fractured, trust shattered. But before they could even process it, Amira's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Your son is next. Leave, or watch him suffer." Amira's knees buckled. Odysseus caught her, his face a mask of fury and terror. The war had just escalated, and their child was now in the crosshairs. They returned to the mansion under armed guard. The billionaire remained hospitalized, his condition stable but fragile. Selina locked herself in her chambers, consumed by guilt, and Amira held her baby close, fear gnawing at her soul. Odysseus refused to leave their side. He installed cameras, hired additional security, and made it clear anyone who threatened his family would face him. But threats have a way of finding cracks. 2 days later, the baby developed a fever. At first, it seemed minor, just a cough. But by evening, his tiny body burned hot, his cries weak and desperate. "Something's wrong," Amira said, her voice breaking. "This isn't normal." They rushed him to the hospital. Doctors ran tests, their faces growing graver by the hour. Finally, the diagnosis came: severe poisoning, likely from contaminated water. "How is that possible?" Odysseus demanded. "We use filtered water. Everything is tested." The hospital staff traced it back. The mansion's old pipes, untouched for decades, had corroded. Lead and other toxins had seeped into the water supply of certain rooms, including theirs. Odysseus' face went white. This wasn't an accident. Someone knew which rooms we'd be in. Security footage revealed a maintenance worker, hired just weeks ago, tampering with the filtration system. When they tracked him down, he'd vanished. But he'd left behind a burner phone. On it, a single message: "Job done. She'll blame herself. They'll fall apart." Amira read it and felt her world collapse. This was her fault. Her presence had brought danger to her child, to the family who had finally accepted her. In the hospital room, as machines monitored her baby's struggling breaths, she made a decision. "I have to leave," she told Odysseus, her voice hollow. "This ends when I'm gone." "No." His response was immediate, fierce. "We face this together. Look at him." Amira's voice cracked, gesturing to their son. "He's suffering because of me. Your father is in the hospital because of me. Your mother is broken because of me. I'm the poison in your family." Odysseus grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You are not poison. You are our strength. The enemy wants you to believe this, wants you to run. Don't give them that power." Tears streamed down her face. "I don't know how to fight this. I'm not strong like you." From the doorway, a voice spoke, quiet but firm. "Then let me teach you." Selina stood there, her eyes red but resolved. She crossed the room and took Amira's hands. "I underestimated you," Selina said softly. "I saw a maid and assumed weakness. But you survived poverty, exile, childbirth alone in a hut. You raised a son while my son searched for you. You are stronger than I ever was." She squeezed Amira's hands. I spent my life worrying about appearances, about what others thought. I let fear rule me. But watching you fight for this family, I see what strength really looks like. Amira's tears fell harder. I don't feel strong. Then borrow mine, Selina said. Borrow ours. We stand together now. For the first time, the two women embraced. Not as lady and servant, not as rivals, but as mothers united in protecting their family. The baby stirred then, his fever breaking. His eyes fluttered open, and when he saw his mother and grandmother together, he smiled. It was a small victory. But in that hospital room, surrounded by beeping machines and sterile walls, a new bond was forged. The family was no longer fractured. They were becoming whole. Adissa didn't sleep. While Amira and his mother kept vigil over the baby, he worked. He hired investigators, pulled security records, traced financial transactions. Someone was orchestrating this attack, and he would find them. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. The butler, the same man who'd betrayed them. Racked with guilt, he'd begun his own investigation, calling in old favors, pressing contacts. He arrived at the hospital at midnight, his face haggard. "Young master, I found something." He presented documents, bank statements showing large payments to the maintenance worker, to the tabloid reporters, to others, all traced back to a single offshore account. And that account belonged to Selina's cousin, Marcus. Adissa's blood ran cold. "He's been orchestrating everything." The butler nodded grimly. "He wants the estate, the family fortune. With the billionaire ill and you discredited, he's positioning himself as the rightful heir. He's challenging the will, claiming your relationship with Amira makes you unfit. On what grounds? Moral character. He's argued that a man who defies his father, who abandons his responsibilities for a servant, cannot be trusted with the empire." Rage boiled in Adissa's chest. "Set up a meeting. Family council. Tomorrow. Everyone will be there." The next evening, the mansion's great hall was prepared. The billionaire, against doctor's orders, insisted on attending. Supported by nurses, he sat at the head of the table, his presence still commanding despite his weakened state. Selina sat to his right, her face composed. Adissa and Amira to his left, their baby sleeping in Amira's arms. And across from them, Marcus, smug and confident, flanked by lawyers. "You called this meeting," Marcus began smoothly. "I assume it's to discuss the transition of power?" The billionaire's voice was weak but steady. "We're here to discuss your treachery." Marcus's smile faltered. "I don't know what you mean." Adissa slid the documents across the table. "Your payments. Your conspiracy. You hired people to poison my son. You leaked our private matters. You're trying to destroy us." Marcus's face paled, then reddened. "You can't prove anything. We have bank records. We have witness testimony. We have the maintenance worker's confession." Adissa leaned forward. "You're finished." "Am I?" Marcus's voice turned venomous. "Or are you? The whole world knows your shame. You threw away your birthright for a maid. My lawyers have already filed. You're unfit, and soon the courts will agree." Silence fell. Then a voice spoke from the doorway. "Perhaps you'd like to hear what I have to say about that." An elderly man entered, dressed in simple robes, his face weathered by age but kind. Amira gasped. "Village elder?" The old man nodded, approaching the table. "I travelled far to be here. When I heard this family was in turmoil, I knew I had to speak." He turned to Marcus. You claim this woman is unworthy because of her birth. But what do you know of her lineage? Marcus scoffed. She's a servant. A nobody. No. The elder's voice rang with authority. Her grandmother was from a noble line that fell on hard times decades ago. Her bloodline carries honor stretching back generations. She may have worked as a maid, but her heritage is as proud as any in this room. Amira stared in shock. I didn't know. Your mother never spoke of it, the elder said gently. She believed actions mattered more than titles. But if titles are what this family requires, then let it be known. Amira is nobility, in blood and in spirit. The revelation hung in the air. Marcus sputtered, scrambling. That doesn't matter. The scandal itself. The scandal, the billionaire interrupted, his voice strengthening, is that men like you exist. Men who value gold over family. Who poison children to steal inheritances. He pushed himself to his feet, trembling but resolute. You are no family of mine. Guards, remove him. Marcus lunged forward, desperation in his eyes. You can't do this. I have rights. You have nothing. The billionaire's voice was final. Your claims are dismissed. Your accounts frozen. And if you ever approach my family again, you'll face charges for attempted murder. As guards dragged Marcus away, his screams echoed through the hall. This isn't over. You'll regret this. But his voice faded, and silence reclaimed the room. The billionaire sank back into his chair, exhausted. Selina moved to his side, supporting him, and Adissa reached across the table, taking his father's hand. It's over, the old man whispered. Finally, it's over. Amira looked around at the faces surrounding her, this family that had been broken and was now healing, and for the first time since entering the mansion, she felt like she belonged. Recovery was slow, but it was real. The billionaire's health improved with stress lifted from his shoulders. Selina threw herself into making amends, planning charity events, opening the mansion to community gatherings. And Adissa, with Amira at his side, began transforming the empire. Their first act was symbolic but powerful. They converted the servants' quarters into proper apartments, with decent wages, health care, education funds for workers' children. The people who had once whispered about Amira now looked at her with respect. One evening, as the sun set over the estate, Adissa and Amira walked through the gardens, their son toddling between them. Do you remember what you said in that hut? Amira asked. That you didn't care about the empire? Adissa smiled. I meant it then. But now I see what an empire can do when it's built on love instead of fear. They were converting sections of the mansion into a school where local children, regardless of background, could learn. The factories were implementing fair labor practices. The banks were funding small businesses in poor communities. The billionaire's empire wasn't shrinking. It was growing, but in a different way. A better way. One afternoon, a ceremony was held in the great hall. The billionaire, standing without support for the first time in weeks, addressed the gathered crowd. Family, workers, community leaders. I built this empire believing wealth was the measure of success, he said, his voice carrying. But I was wrong. True wealth is measured in the lives we touch, the families we support, the love we share. He turned to Adissa and Amira. My son taught me that. And his wife, he paused, letting the words sink in, showed me what true strength looks like. Applause filled the hall. And when the billionaire officially named Adissa and Amira as co-leaders of the family business, the cheers were genuine. Selina stood beside them, tears streaming down her face, but this time they were tears of joy. She'd spent months making amends, personally apologizing to Amira, learning from her strength. The two women weren't just family now. They were friends. That night, as the mansion glowed with light and laughter, as servants danced alongside their employers, as children played in halls that once demanded silence, Amira stood on the balcony overlooking it all. Adissa joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking?" "That I was terrified of this place," she admitted. "But now it feels like home. Because it is home. Our home. Built not on gold or power, but on something stronger." Their son tugged at Adissa's leg, wanting attention. Adissa scooped him up, kissing his forehead. "What do you think, little one? Will you help us build a better world?" The baby laughed, and the sound echoed across the estate, pure and hopeful. Below, the billionaire stood with Selina, watching his family. "We almost lost everything," he murmured. "But we didn't," Selina replied, squeezing his hand. "We found something better." The village elder, still visiting, approached them. "You asked me once what makes a true legacy," he said to the billionaire. "Now you know. It's not what you build. It's who you raise and how they carry your name forward." The old man smiled, and together they watched as Adissa, Amira, and their son stood silhouetted against the setting sun. The mansion had transformed. Gardens that once served only aesthetics now grew vegetables for community kitchens. Ballrooms hosted literacy classes. The garage, half empty of luxury cars, served as a workshop where young people learned trades. The family gathered for the baby's first birthday. Not just family by blood, but family by choice. Workers who'd become friends, villagers who'd become partners in the Empire's new mission. Amira, now fluent in 3 languages and confident in boardrooms, cut the cake alongside Adissa. The billionaire held his grandson, making silly faces that sent the child into fits of giggles. And Selina, once so concerned with appearances, sat on the floor teaching village children songs Amira had taught her. As the celebration continued, Adissa pulled Amira aside. "I have something for you." He led her to the study, where a portrait had been unveiled. It showed their family, all of them, the billionaire and Selina, Adissa and Amira, their son. But behind them, painted in soft strokes, were images of the village, the workers, the community. "This is our legacy," Adissa said. "Not wealth, not power, but love that transforms. Family that includes everyone." Amira's eyes filled with tears. "It's perfect." They returned to the party, where laughter and music filled every corner. And as the evening deepened, as guests departed with full hearts and promises to return, the family stood together on the front steps. The same steps where Amira had once been thrown out. The same gates that had once slammed shut in her face. Now they stood open, welcoming, a symbol of everything they'd overcome. "Do you ever regret it?" Amira asked Adissa quietly. "Giving up the easy life for me?" Adissa pulled her close, kissing her temple. "I gave up nothing. I gained everything." The billionaire, overhearing, nodded. "We all did. Pride builds walls, but love tears them down. I learned that the hard way. But I learned." As stars appeared above them, as the mansion settled into peaceful rest, the family remained together. Not perfect, but whole. Not without scars, but healing. And in that moment, they understood the truth that had eluded them for so long. The greatest empire isn't built with gold. It's built with love, forgiveness, and the courage to choose what matters most. So there you have it. Part 2 of the billionaire's journey. Did it move you? Did it make you believe in second chances? I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell me, what part hit you hardest? Your ideas shape this channel. You are the reason these stories come to life. Before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't watched part 1, the link is in the description. We're building something special here, a family of storytellers and story lovers. Drop your name and location in the comments. I'm giving shout-outs to my amazing viewers. Shout out to Winifred from Jamaica, Lenny's from Germany, and Jasmine from USA. Thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you for supporting this channel. Together, we're creating something beautiful. Until next time, remember, true wealth isn't measured in gold. It's measured in love. See you in the next story tomorrow.